It's getting hot in here. Oh, hey, welcome to What's Your Geek, where I talk about what I'm passionate about, what you're passionate about, and what's more obsessive than cataloging over 4,000 pre-painted plastic miniatures in an Excel spreadsheet. So you might have just caught me doing a little bit of a dance, and the reason for that is it is getting hot in here. Now, I live in Seattle, Washington. It's Friday before Memorial Day weekend. And some people may have got it started early, and I think we're in for like a record weekend. I think it's going to be like in the 80s. Probably been 20 years since it's been that hot. And as serendipity would have it, I am showcasing off my third shelf of D&D miniatures, and as you can see, there is a lot of fire and flame going on there. Yes, sir. All right. And a reminder that Stream of Annihilation is coming next week, June 2nd and 3rd at Wizards of the Coast. And from their website, to celebrate, they've invited a bunch of D&D streamers and luminaries to Seattle, Washington to hang out and roll some dice on June 2nd and 3rd. This is a 2-day event. It's 2 full days of streaming D&D that D&D fans, they are saying, won't want to miss. They'll have folks from Misclicks, Maze Arcana, Critical Role, Dice Camera Action with Chris Perkins, not to mention international gaming groups like Yogcast High Rollers from the UK and Dragon Friends from Australia. I know I'm going to be tuning in. I encourage you to tune in as well. Now, Geekdom, the frontier of the imagination. These are the voyages of Robert Dorgan, his 2-year mission to explore 90 different shelves of original D&D miniatures, to seek out lore and tangential information, to obsessively go where geeks live and their passions and obsessions. As a reminder, I have 9 shelves, 9 cases with 10 shelves each, which will be a 2-year journey cataloging my obsession into geekdom where no one has gone before. My current count is 4,007 miniatures, of which 1,330 are unique, different miniatures. Well, my wife's out of town, so I've been trying to watch some movies that maybe she is into, like some more actiony, cheesy type movies. But I did come across an actual gem. It's called Hell and High Water. It was from 2016. It stars Chris Pine. Yeah, the Chris Pine for the new Captain Kirk from Star Trek. Also, Ben Foster and Jeff Bridges. It's a taut action drama about 2 brothers who turn to crime to save their family's land, and the Texas Ranger out to stop them. Interesting movie. I mean, basically, these 2 brothers are bank robbers. Their mom's land is going to be foreclosed on for the bank. But the action scenes aren't like it's not like Vin Diesel, Fast and Furious type of stuff. It's actually pretty mild, realistic action scenes, and more of the drama. It's really more drama, and it really has this backdrop of Texas with these, these poor farmers that are, being in the banks, just like this sort of like, basically taking advantage of them, and so there's a lot of social commentary, I should say, underneath it, and also the interesting part with Jeff Bridges being a Texas Ranger who's close to retirement. So this is like basically his last case. So it's actually it was more drama than I would say action, and actually a much better movie than I thought it was going to be. And Chris Pine's a really good actor, Jeff Bridges is a good actor, so it was a lot of fun seeing them. So if you're looking for something to do, something to watch, it's on Amazon Instant Video. It's like $4 or something to watch it. You can rent it for 2 days. All right, coming up, it's getting hot outside, and it's going to get even hotter in here. My third shelf brings more heat than a Mauricio Cabrera fastball. I'll be back in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bam. Hey, welcome back. Case 1, shelves 3 theme, it sounds like a tongue twister, is Red Hot Fairy Creatures, which I already showed you. One more time, why not? Let's turn up the heat. And while we're turning up the heat, I just want to make a remark. This is a t-shirt from Dark Sun. Dark Sun was one of the first campaigns that is to really take a stark difference from the high fantasy, Lord of the Rings inspired, Greyhawk, Forgotten Realm stuff. It was much more of a stark world. These, almost omnipotent sorcerer kings had basically destroyed the land. It was just mostly a desert, and they ruled in these cities, and they had powers, and there was like, you know, basically most of the players were playing, you know, resistance fighters who were trying to just survive, and this is, anyway, this is the Dark Sun thing, and how much more appropriate for a hot summer's day or spring day approaching summer with featuring fire elementals to have Dark Sun. And they actually did remake Dark Sun officially for 4th edition. It was pretty awesome. I did play in a campaign. I played a cannibalistic halfling named Zerk, who was a real jerk, and had a lot of fun because basically mechanically that was about almost as powerful as the rest of the party combined. So when we got into it, which we eventually did, I almost single-handedly defeated everyone else. Anyway, elementals. I'm going to show off this guy. Actually got a couple of bookends. These are huge fire elementals. Pretty sweet. Let's zoom in. Yes. They speak a language, Ignan. I can't speak it, so I won't try. Anyway, elementals appeared in the 1st edition monster manual, and they had 3 different strengths, or how they called them, hit dice back then, depending on the method of summoning them. It was like there was a spell summoning was the most powerful, or there was a staff summoning, and then they had a 3rd one, and maybe like a sensor, you know, and some kind of an item to summon them. But it seemed like there were more like the whole party would sort of concentrate on this creature because its chance of getting angry, being summoned, and going berserk was high if you didn't do that kind of thing. But they also had like +2 resistance. If you didn't have a magical weapon of +2 or higher, or you weren't like a 4 hit dice or stronger creature like an ogre, you're hosed. I could just see like a party summoning a fire elemental and sending them into the kobold warrens and just like obliterated them all. 3rd edition, I think, went a little overboard with 6 different versions of each of the elementals. So, for example, the fire elemental started at challenge rating 1 in size small and went to huge size in challenge rating 11. Actually, the strongest 3 fire elementals in 3rd edition were all huge size. This is a huge size fire elemental, in case you were wondering. So I just think that's like so many versions, and when you're only going from level 1, challenge rating 1 to 11, basically, to me it's not a variation. Like it's like you're trying to fine tune. Like, oh, I want the players to fight it here or here. It's like that's the kind of thing I think a player could, or a DM could just, you know, do on the fly, do on their own. Now, one of the things I want to say with this elemental, like I think in Harbinger, the first set, they did have a fire elemental, but it was just like kind of a just like a opaque red color, right? They hadn't perfected or hadn't discovered or whatever this clear kind of color. And I think this, for many of like elemental creatures and some other cool effects like invisibility, having this ability to do the clear plastic, I think is just super awesome. Now, elementals have a long history in the game and are likely best known from the iconic 1st edition adventure, The Temple of Elemental Evil. I'm not going to spoil too much, but let's just say there's elementals involved, perhaps a chain god, and some wicked stuff going on. Now, in 5th edition, they revisited this adventure with the Princes of the Apocalypse. And it wasn't like a remake of it, but it was basically it was like an updated maybe take on it, right? And I played a little bit in that one, but not a lot. And it's pretty cool. Some of the miniatures that have come out for it, the WizKids miniatures, are all right. You know, I might have to actually break down and get a couple. Basically, both adventures have you facing off against cultist factions dedicated to each of the elemental forces, and they're basically all evil. Now, an interesting thing in 4th edition Dungeons & Dragons is they did not include any of the basic elementals in the first monster manual. If they grab the first monster manual here for 4th edition, the elementals they include were all mixtures, right? So they have a picture there. You can see those are the 4 different ones they included. And that one is the Rockfire Dreadnought, which I do have a miniature of. And the Rockfire Dreadnought is actually a mixture of earth and fire. So this is this guy right here, and this is another cool miniature. You can see this is after they figured out how to do the clear plastic. But what I really like about this guy is they've got, whoops, I just smacked my case. What I really like about this guy is you can see how the fists are kind of clear, but then you can see the body, it's dark, but it's got some clearness in it. So you can kind of see it's kind of a cool mix to me of clear and dark right there, you see? And so that is a pretty awesome miniature. The Rockfire is a level 18 soldier, so he's the paragon or the 2nd tier of adventurers. So basically at that point you're out in the countryside, you're helping kingdoms out, you are maybe adventuring into the plains, and it's likely where you might discover one of these Rockfires, or perhaps a mad wizard summon one at one point. So that was the Rockfire Elemental. Now I did mention that the elementals did appear in their base form. In 4th edition, the 3rd edition, or the Monster Manual 3, and basically they just did 3 versions, right? So they got like a level 1 fire elemental, a level 11 fire elemental, and a level 21 fire elemental. So basically at the beginning of each tier, so heroic tier, paragon tier, and epic tier, they have elementals. So one per tier, which it's good. I mean, yeah, I don't think you need much more than that. And if you want to play them at each level, there you have them. Now in the 5th edition Monster Manual, they also have the elementals, but they just did a flat challenge rating 5. So all across the board, whether it's air, earth, fire, or water elemental, they're all challenge rating 5. And I don't think it'd be too hard to like upscale these if you wanted. I suppose you could decrease them as well, but yeah, it's kind of the basic treat. Now they did do something called Essentials. This is still in the 4th edition line. Towards the end of 4th edition, they came out with something where I think they were trying to add a little bit more of the 3rd edition feel back into the game and sort of appease some of the fans. And in this book, Essentials, it's Monster Vault. It's kind of for like a lower level range of creatures. In general, there's not as many higher level monsters. There are some in here, but the elementals actually just went for level 1, right? They're all just level 1, and they're all lesser elementals. They actually even say that, so they didn't include any of the greater ones. But you already had them in the other books, I guess, if you really wanted them. So that's the elementals. That's the Rockfire Dreadnought. Now for something a little different, but still within theme. This is one of my I think is a really cool miniature. This is a noble salamander. So as you can see, this is like a humanoid, the body of basically a humanoid creature on top, and then the lower torso is that of a kind of a snake, right, kind of creature. And they have different kinds of salamanders, and they're basically all on theme. This salamander is the salamander firetail. You can see this is a 4th edition creature, so it's just another version of the salamander. Basically these are creatures of fire from the elemental plane of fire. A lot of them iconically wield spears. This one's got a couple swords, and they have like basically also, in addition to their weapon attacks, they have like they can attack with their tail, like slapping or constricting. Now the noble salamander, this one was well, salamanders themselves were in 1st edition Dungeons and Dragons Monster Manual, and they remained pretty consistent throughout the game. They have a caste-like society, so the noble salamanders are at the top of the caste, of the food chain, and are generally the most powerful in combat. Now, in 3rd edition, they give a range of challenges from challenge rating 3, which is what is called the Flame Brother Salamander, to the challenge rating 6 for what they literally called the Average Salamander, to the challenge rating 10 Noble Salamander. Now, you may remember, because basically, I'd say 3rd edition, even though theoretically it can go past 20th, 20th is kind of like the cap. That's how high the experience markers go in there, and then you just like sort of have a mathematical form that they continue on past that. But basically, so this is 4th edition with the 30th level. When I'm trying to take a challenge rating in a 3rd edition monster, I just take it by 1.5 to figure out, well, what would that be like in 4th edition? So basically, challenge rating 3 would be like 4.5, so 4, level 4 or 5 monster. So it's roughly still, level 6 would be challenge rating 6 would be like a 9th level salamander, so right at the top of the heroic tier. And then the noble salamander rating 10 would be level 15, so right in the midst of Paragon for the 4th edition. And salamanders, they have an interesting thing about them. I'm trying to get their 4th edition ones. They they're basically level 14 and 15. So again, they're basically all just like in the 3rd edition power range. And they do have the Salamander Noble, but they also have an Archer, the Firetail I showed you, as well as the Lancer. And so yeah, so it kind of gives you some different options to do. Like like the Lancer's more of a brute, so more of a strong, going to do a lot of damage. The Firetail's a skirmisher, so they're going to slide around and he's moving around the battlefield. The Archer, of course, is like that ranged one, and the Noble is kind of controlling the whole battlefield. Now in 5th edition Monster Manual, they do have the Salamander. They do bring it back. Whoops, just lost my place. This is actually they're a fire snake right there, and fifth edition lore, they said basically salamanders hatch from eggs and they hatch into a fire snake, which is basically an immature or juvenile version of the salamander, and they give that a CR1, so pretty weak, pretty small, and then they graduate into the full-blown adult salamander, which is a CR5, so a bit of a bump, but not horrible. So again, in 5th edition, it's interesting, they kind of lowered the overall challenge of the salamanders. In 3rd and 4th edition, these were higher level creatures, like, you're going to be like 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th level before you're kind of fighting these, so you're getting out of the cities and stuff. But here, challenge rating 5, I mean, that's still a relatively low level. These are creatures from the elemental plane of fire, so it seems like they kind of missed the boat there by making them such a low level, because to me, I would think that that's the kind of stuff the adventurers are going to get involved with as they get to higher level and get outside of the cities and the towns and starting to get into more of the elements, because they're more of an exotic creature. So again, kind of a miss. Don't know what you're thinking, but hey, it happened. All right, well, we're just about getting at the end of this week's show, and I did want to show you the Noble Salamander. I do have the stat card for it right there. That's the Noble Salamander stat card, and again, they give the role-playing stats on the back. So this is the 3rd edition version of the Salamander. And then for the Rockfire Dreadnought, that was a 4th edition monster, so that did not exist. The 3rd edition that I'm aware of, and so that came out in a later set, Monster Manual Savage Encounters, and so it's got the delve side. So if you want to play in the role-playing game kind of side, you can see how much more simpler the role-playing game is, right, in 4th edition. I mean, not simpler, but in terms of the monsters, like, it just really made them much easier to run. Got rid of a lot of extra or unnecessary stuff. Well, this is the delve side. This is the game side. That's why it's so simple. But even if I flip it over and give you the, I mean, you can see, here's the delve side on this one, the miniature battle game. Here's that one. So much less text on this thing, right? And then even on the role-playing side, where there's much more stats, you can see, of course, these are 2 different monsters. So I'm kind of comparing apples and oranges a little bit, but you can see just a lot, condensed, easier to run, a lot more stuff going on, things that you may not even care about, like, I don't know, well, this guy's got some pretty cool he's got pretty cool spells, but anyway, that is the monster. So we did not have a winner for the week 1 guess the miniature monster, so I am going to go ahead and reveal that and end that week 1 contest. Now week 2 is still in effect, so you can still try to find that and get one of my miniatures sent to you for free from that huge box of miniatures. But week 1 is the Dragon. Yes, this is the Dragon. This was in the 1st edition Dungeons & Dragons Monster Manual. And it was a cross between a weird cross between a brass dragon and a giant lion, right? And I think one of its powers was, like, its horrible roar was just so awful it could, like, seriously damage you. Now, for this week's miniature, I am going to show off this little lady. I think she is pretty cool because, as you can see, not only does she have flaming wings, she has a flaming sword as well, right? And so I think that is a pretty cool, kind of unique miniature. So go ahead. You've got 2 weeks to put your guess in the comments, and I will send you a miniature from, yeah, that's it. I'm going to show you the big box of miniatures. All right. I mean, there's some freaking cool miniatures in here. Like, you could get an Iron Golem Juggernaut, right? Iron Golem Juggernaut. Whoa. See? So big he shakes the camera. Just barely can't hold on to that guy. All right. Ah, whew. All right. So thank you for watching another episode of What's Your Geek. Please subscribe to my channel. Leave a comment. Tell me what you liked, what you didn't like. And what do you think about elemental creatures? Do you think they should be encountered at low levels? Do you think it's better to high levels? Do you like the fact that 5th edition lowered the salamanders challenge rating to 5? Or are you outraged like I am and go like, no, salamanders, you don't find those until you're like 8th, 9th, 10th or above level, right? Anyway, so tell your friends, tell your family, tell your kids, and until next time, roll at 20.